So much of everyday life of traditional owners would be around the waterways.
It's a very big freshwater river system with a lot of them animals that are part of our Dreamtime stories, and it's something that we've got to preserve for generations to come.
For millennia, this waterway has been the lifeblood of southeast Queensland. Winding its way from the Sunshine Coast up to Hervey Bay, it runs through 3 Aboriginal nations. The Cubby Cubby people call it Mullumbula, but most know it as the Mary River.
Mary River, it's one of Australia's most amazing catchments, I think.
A canoe trip down the length of it in March last year showed why. A team of scientists, environmentalists and traditional owners paddled 200 kilometres, meeting the rare and fascinating creatures that call the river home.
These are good size.
Among them, the Australian lungfish, a living fossil unchanged for more than 100 million years.
It's got gills, but it's also got a lung, which means it can also breathe air. And one of these iconic species that only occurs here, and it's in decline.
And an iconic turtle that breathes through its bottom.
So that's a Mary River turtle, a big male, you can tell by the big tail.
So these are nationally listed threatened species, species that are found nowhere else around the world.
The waterway is also scattered with cultural artefacts.
This is where they would have just sharpened their spears up.
Yeah, sure, it's the same as
Brine and flowers.
Just from the rock material that we'd been finding and the hundreds and hundreds of stone tools, it really opened our eyes up and took us back in time.
We recorded, eh?
But this journey was not just a scenic one. It was the beginning of the most comprehensive scientific survey of the river's health in decades. And now the results are in.
They're probably worse than I could have ever imagined.
The survey revealed a predator spreading through the catchment.
We'll do 3 nets in this pool, I think.
And 18 months after their canoe trip, the group is back, setting traps to catch it.
So we'll set them before dusk and we'll collect them after dawn, and that gives them 2 chances to move into the nets and hope for the best.
The next day, as the blanket of morning cloud lifts, they return to check the nets.
What do you reckon? That's probably 1.5 kilos.
The threat is revealed. An invasive fish called tilapia.
6 months old, maybe? Yeah.
And while the creature looks unimposing, its effect can be devastating.
So this is a non-native species from Africa that was introduced into the Mary at least 10 years ago. The tilapia is an omnivore. It can eat just about everything. And so it will eat the plants that the lungfish lay their eggs on. So there's the role of predation, there's the impact of changing the habitat, and also competing with native fish for food.
Scientists say the foreign fish lurked in an isolated section of the river for about a decade. But the new data shows it is now swarming in several pockets of the catchment. David Sternberg is the senior researcher for the Natural Resource Management Group that led the project.
So we had really large floods in 2022, and since then our sampling has shown that there's been just a rapid spread, a proliferation of tilapia in the catchment.
But what that shows is that's happened recently, and we can still address the problem or manage the problem now rather than wait another 10 years when they are fully established.
The group has devised a plan to do just that. It would see traditional owners catch the tilapia in bulk in targeted sections of the river during breeding season for the native species. The pest fish would be turned into fertiliser, which would in turn be used to grow native plants to revegetate the riverbanks. The Cubby Cubby people, who won native title over a large section of the river in June, are eager to be involved.
I just see that as a win-win. Makes sense to me.
Also for Kabi Kabi, it gives us a bit of purpose as well, creates jobs. These are things that we want to be a part of.
So this is a male.
But there are roadblocks. Tilapia is a decent eating fish, so to deter people from harvesting the noxious species, there are strict laws to prevent them being kept and sold. A spokesperson from the State Fisheries Department said it may be possible to manage these risks while working with traditional owners to protect native species, and they would consider any formal proposal put forward.
So this is just amending the regulations somewhat to be able to enable our traditional owners to do the job that they need to do and that they want to do. They want to clean up the river as well. It's in their DNA anyway, and it's in their hearts as well.
The state and federal governments have identified the need for urgent action to protect the iconic species of the Mary River. The question now, whether it will come soon enough to save them.
We shouldn't be reading about these things in books to our traditional people like Kabi Kabi once lived. There are things there today that we need to protect